Let's talk about something that touches literally every part of our lives. In a world that's just buzzing with noise and ideas, being able to communicate well, that isn't just a nice little skill to have on your resume. Nope. It's the absolute master key that unlocks your full potential. It's the engine for your personal growth, for your career, and for building a life that's full of real, meaningful connections. So today, we're going to dive deep into mastering this skill.
And honestly, that is not an exaggeration. Real communication is about so much more than just the words we say. It's about forging connections, it's about influencing how people think, and it's about really making your mark on the world. So, let's break down the practical steps you can take to harness that power, starting right now. Okay, here's our game plan. We've got 6 parts to our journey today. We'll start with why communication is basically a superpower. Then, we'll build the foundation, which is all about listening. After that, it's on to projecting your own ideas. Then we'll tackle the tricky stuff, persuasion and conflict. We'll look at crossing barriers, and finally, we'll wrap it all up by framing this as the lifelong journey it really is. So let's jump in.
So let's just start with a really foundational idea. Communication is not a soft skill. Let's just get that out of the way. It is a transformative power. It's what defines great leaders. It builds empires, and it forges the very bonds that make life worth living. It really is the master key that opens every other door.
Now, what's so cool about this is how all these benefits are connected, right? They all feed into each other. Think about it. Stronger relationships, that's the bedrock of your personal life. And that's built on you expressing yourself and truly listening. Well, in the professional world, that directly translates into effective leadership, being able to share a vision and inspire people to trust you. And that, of course, becomes a total career catalyst. It just propels you forward because people understand your value. And as you get better at all of this, you just unleash this new level of self-confidence. You're not afraid to voice your opinions. And finally, when conflict pops up, and it always does, these skills let you turn it from something stressful into a chance for actual growth.
So with all those amazing benefits in mind, we have to turn to the most overlooked, and I mean the most critical part of the whole thing: listening. We are so often just focused on what we're going to say next, right? We're just waiting for our turn to talk. But we forget communication is a two-way street. The entire structure of being an effective communicator is built on the foundation of truly hearing what the other person is saying. And the gold standard for this is something called active listening. This means the ability to focus completely on a speaker. We're not talking about just passively letting sound waves hit your eardrums. No, this is a conscious, deliberate effort to understand the full message. That includes their body language, their tone of voice, and all the facts, feelings, and values that might be hiding just behind the words they're using.
So how do we actually do it? Well, here are 6 techniques that you can use today. First up, pay attention, and I mean really pay attention. Put the phone down, no interruptions, just give the speaker your undivided focus. Number 2, withhold judgment. This one is so hard, but so crucial. You have to go in with an open mind. Just for a moment, suspend your own criticisms and just listen. Third, reflect and validate. This is how you show you're actually listening. You could paraphrase what they said. Something like, so it sounds like what you're saying is her people skills are great, but accountability is the real issue. Or you could help them label their feelings. Wow, it sounds like you're feeling really frustrated by all this. Fourth is clarify. Ask questions. Use phrases like, okay, let me see if I'm understanding this right, just to make sure you're both on the same page. Fifth, summarize. Every so often, just restate the key themes. Okay, so just to recap, the main issues are X, Y, and Z. Do I have that right? This shows them you're getting it. And finally, number 6, share. Notice this is the last step. Only after you have truly deeply understood their perspective, then you can introduce your own ideas.
And here's why this is such a big deal in any team or organization. Just listening, it turns out, isn't enough to make people feel heard. The magic trick is when you take action. Research actually shows that employees feel 2 times as listened to when their leader acts on what they've heard. In fact, get this, a poor listener who takes some action can make their employees feel more heard than a great listener who does nothing at all. Action is what builds trust. It tells people, hey, your voice actually matters here.
Okay, so a little moment of truth here for self-assessment. Think about your own habits. When someone's talking, do you find yourself already planning your rebuttal in your head? Do you kind of dislike it when someone questions your ideas? Do you tend to jump in with advice before the other person has even finished explaining their side? Look, if you answered yes to any of these, you are definitely not alone. But it's a huge sign that there's a real opportunity to level up your active listening skills.
All right, now that we have built our foundation on listening, let's flip the coin over and talk about the other side, output.
How do you project your own ideas with clarity and impact, whether you're just writing a quick email or you're speaking to a whole auditorium?
Well, it helps to start by understanding the two main modes. You've got verbal, which is synchronous. It's live, it's happening in real time, you have to think on your feet. Then you have written communication, which is asynchronous. A reply isn't expected right away. Now that's its superpower, right? It gives you time to really structure your thoughts. But it's also a challenge, because without your tone of voice, your words have to be crystal clear. Think about your emails. Are they brief, to the point? Do you start with the main idea so the reader doesn't have to go hunting for it? Mastering asynchronous communication is really about mastering clarity and respecting the other person's time.
Now let's zoom in on something we all have to do, the presentation. The key to a great one isn't magic, it's all about preparation, and it follows 6 golden rules. It all starts with your audience. Who are they? What do they care about? Then you tailor your content specifically to them. You have to have a crystal clear purpose and a rock-solid structure, intro, middle, end, to guide them. Your visual aids, they should support your message, not just be a teleprompter for you to read from. And the final, absolutely non-negotiable step? You have to practice. Out loud, on your feet, like it's the real deal. And while you're practicing, pay attention to what your body is saying. Here's the crucial thing to get. Confidence is a feedback loop. When you act confident, standing up straight, making eye contact, using purposeful gestures, it doesn't just project confidence to your audience. It actually sends signals back to your own brain that make you feel more confident. It's a simple little trick, but it absolutely works. So avoid those distracting things like jangling keys or folding your arms, which just creates a barrier. Your body is a huge part of your message. So we can listen, we can project our own ideas. Okay, now let's level up. Let's take these skills into more complex territory, using communication not just to inform, but to influence people, and to navigate the really tough stuff, like disagreements and conflict.
Effective persuasion isn't about manipulation. It's actually grounded in psychology. Here are 5 key principles. First, reciprocity. That's our deep-seated need to repay favors. Offering genuine praise or support before you ask for something can make a world of difference. Then there's social proof. We tend to follow the crowd. It's why online reviews are so powerful. Highlighting positive examples makes others want to jump on board. Authority is our natural deference to credible experts. Scarcity taps into that fear of missing out. Highlighting a unique, time-sensitive opportunity really drives action. And finally, consistency. We all want to stick with our commitments. So instead of going for a big yes right away, just get a small agreement first. A simple, hey, can we at least agree this is a problem worth solving? And you start to build momentum.
But what happens when persuasion doesn't work and you hit a conflict? Because it's gonna happen. The key is to have a whole toolkit of strategies. Collaboration is the ideal, right? That's where you work together to find a true win-win for everyone. Compromise is about finding a middle ground where both sides have to give a little. Negotiation is a more formal process of bargaining. Mediation is when you bring in a neutral third party to help guide the conversation. And you know what? Sometimes avoidance can actually be a good temporary strategy, just to let everyone cool off before trying again. Knowing which tool to use and when is a skill in itself.
All right, now let's zoom out a bit. Communication doesn't happen in a perfect little bubble. It flows through these complex systems, like organizations and different cultures, that can put up some very real barriers. So how do we get around those?
Well, one of the most common barriers you'll find in any organization is the distortion effect. The best way to think about it is like that game of telephone you played as a kid. Every single time a message gets passed from one person to the next, like a little transfer station in the hierarchy, there's a risk of it getting misinterpreted or filtered or just suddenly changed. By the time it reaches the front lines, it might not even resemble what the person at the top originally intended.
And this is a perfect illustration of how that happens. Look at this. The CEO has this beautiful, nuanced vision. Let's improve the customer experience with personalized interactions. Okay, great. But then it goes to the VP, who translates that to focus on customer satisfaction metrics. Then the manager gets it and says, okay, team, we need to increase positive feedback scores. And by the time it gets to the staff, it has become a rigid, simple metric, meet your new quota for interaction time. The strategic why is completely lost, and it's been replaced by a tactical what that might actually make the customer experience worse.
Another major barrier, of course, is culture. In our globalized world, cross-cultural communication is not optional anymore. It's about recognizing that people from different backgrounds just communicate differently. And it's on us to be willing to adjust our own style to bridge those gaps so we can engage with people effectively.
So how do you get better at this? Well, it starts with embracing agility and being genuinely open-minded to new ways of thinking and doing things.
From there, you have to facilitate meaningful conversations by being curious, not judgmental. But maybe the most crucial step of all is turning that lens inward. You have to become self-aware of your own biases, of the cultural lens that you see the world through. That awareness, that's the real first step toward change.
And that brings us to our final section. We have covered a ton of ground, right? From listening to speaking, from persuasion to navigating barriers. But the single most important thing to take away from all of this is that this isn't a topic you can just master in one sitting and then forget about.
Exactly. Developing your communication skills is a continuous process. It's a cycle of learning something new, practicing it, getting feedback, and refining your approach. It really is a journey, not a destination. Every conversation, every presentation, every single email you send is another chance to practice and get just a little bit better. It's an investment in yourself that will pay you dividends for the rest of your life.
So, we end right where we began, with this simple but powerful truth. Your voice has immense power. It has the power to build relationships, to inspire action, to resolve conflict, and to literally shape the world around you. So the only question left is the one right there on the screen. How will you choose to use it? It's time to let it be heard.